All right, welcome to episode number 2. I failed yesterday. Ran out of 36 hours of no sleep, and by 8 o'clock I crashed. So I failed to do podcast number 2, as I said I would do every single day. Realizing that, I may have to do it 5 days out of the week instead of all 7, just because you never know what will happen. But the idea of the podcast today is to talk about failures. Failure, the fear of failing, or whatever involves fail into it. It's pretty much what we're going to be talking about tonight. So, let's start with the idea of failure. It's one of the most difficult things as human beings that we have to face, is because you have to look at yourself and tell yourself you messed up. And originally, first instinct is always to blame something else or the world. So, for example, if we could just take the podcast, for example, I failed at doing episode number 2 last night. Why? Because I was tired. But I could have said, oh, the excitement and work and things. But the honest truth is I failed. And because I failed, now I could take all responsibility, because if you succeed, that's your fault. If you fail, that's your fault. It's both of them are your fault. It's just, the fault of a good one it feels nice, but the fault of a bad one often leaves changes into your life. Maybe that's also the reason why people they dislike failing so much, is because then that also admits that you yourself have to change in order for you to win or to not fail. And change is very difficult for a lot of people. It is very difficult. It's I would argue worse than pulling teeth. Even if you take things like addiction out of the circle, having people listen before they speak is a very difficult thing for people to do, because they've been doing it for X amount of years. I would argue that there's a difference between failing and failure. Failure is when you just failed and you've gave up. And I would argue a lot of people are failures now. My analogy to life is that you're going to be taking L's all the time. And what failures tend to do is that, my analogy is, life is like Mike Tyson. You have to go into the ring with Mike Tyson every single day. Now, Mike Tyson just knocked you down. Are you going to lay down, or you're going to get up? Or you're just going to press reset on that round and keep on resetting until you've actually won. Most people, they just lay there and they hope for a 10 count. And then the bad news is that they think that it's over, but all life does is just press reset again until you beat it. But some people find it easier to just lay down and just fail all the time, and then they wind up becoming failures. It's sad, because they tend to hold on to, that high school football life where high school was their peak. Sorry. And the people who fail but keep on getting back up are some of the biggest winners that I've known. And that's, how else do you succeed if you don't fail? You have to try, you have to fail, and then you have to retry. But you have to retry with changes. You can't retry with the same result. Then you're just gonna get knocked out all the time. You're never gonna win a round. Never. And the thing with life is that it is unlimited rounds. You could be 70 something and still catching L's. It's just how things are. Now your L's may be different L's. Like your failure could be, you really didn't establish time with your loved ones over 70 years. That winds up being a failure, because Now you don't have much time. You could try to gather that failure and try to turn it into a win by trying to be in somebody else's life. But when time passes, there's not really much you can do. You can't reset 40 years. All you can do is try to move forward from that moment. So even if you are a failure, good news is that there's still hope. You don't have to lay down. You don't have to. It is a choice. Laying down and standing up is a choice. The people who kind of say like, oh, life got me down, or I don't know, insert any excuse that you want. You can change. It's going to involve you, and it's going to involve you looking at yourself and telling yourself that you're a failure and that you're tired of it. There's a lot of times where I've tried to convince other people, like, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Just take my advice and do it. And do they do it? 90% of the time, no. But the people who do it, the people who do it, they do see changes. Like, I've had a couple of friends to where, they kept on failing with either certain groups, certain types of people. Men with women is a very big one. A lot of dudes don't know how to talk to women. It's actually shocking. They think money's the answer. I don't understand why they would think that, but whatever. Even for racial groups, there's plenty of white guys that feel awkward talking to black dudes because they don't know anything in the culture, and they fail making relationships because of it. White language and black language are two very different things, but if you take your time to understand both sides, you realize that every group agrees with 90% of what each other is saying. It's just the language and the cultures was different, but people are also scared to fail at that because they don't want to seem racist or whatever, but that's completely different story. But the idea is that they fail because they failed once, and usually that failure does come with quite the consequence. So I can understand why people don't want to continue trying, but you shouldn't not continue. It's just a matter of, I've messed up, maybe I should do more listening than I do more talking. And I would actually probably say that's the majority of people's failures is because they believe that they know best, and they don't take advice from people who have been through it. I mean, it's quite amazing to me how people, you see this a lot with like wives with their girlfriends. Their girlfriends could be single, but they're giving marriage advice to the wives are getting marriage advice from single divorcees. Don't understand that. You're gonna get advice from the person that failed at the thing that you're trying to keep. Just, unless it's gonna be insightful, like, hey, listen, this is where I've messed up. If they're gonna talk about their failures so that you could not do their failures, that's a win. Cool. But I tend to see the opposite. I see that with both genders. I see that with a lot of racial groups. I see that with a lot of people who either make a lot of money or lose a lot of money, or who never made money. The funniest is the broke dude that's trying to tell you how to get rich, or the people that you have a genius idea, but they try to tell you how to think. It's like, either I put myself in this position to be wealthy or not wealthy or whatever. Why would I listen to someone who didn't even take the first step to even become that? The same thing with an idea. I've had plenty of ideas being shut down because people were scared of the idea or how big it is. But, don't tell me that I'm going to fail because you think that I'm going to fail. Let me fail. All I need from you is just to, if I fail, just be a listening ear, or just be like, listen, try again. That's all that people would need to fail properly. To fail incorrectly is, what's a good way to fail incorrectly? Is when you have a lot of get out of free jail cards, is how you fail incorrectly. It's when you get saved by people that love you, but sometimes like you have to eat shit. You really do. The people that love you will try to prevent you from doing it, but it's one of the most humbling things to do is to fail. Is because now you could be a big shot, but then now realize I don't know nothing. Maybe I should go back to the drawing board. A lot of people for that's humbling, and humbleness kind of allows you to listen or at least look at your mistakes and see where you failed. And your mistake could have been your first step. Like the first step you've made could have been the mistake, and it would have went down the wrong path. It's kind of the main reason why you should do more listening than talking, especially if you're going through something that you've never experienced before. It's like the virgin that tries to like Google how to have sex through Pornhub. It's just like, you're gonna fail automatically. It's just nothing you can really do with that. But yeah, so as of right now, we talk about failures, failing to win, failing improperly, and I want to say that's it for tonight. We'll make it short. We'll try to make the videos 10 minutes long, nothing too crazy, because I doubt that people really want to hear me talk for 25 hours. As the podcast grows, as you see, I've cleaned up the boxes. I made sure to put myself nicely, because even my first video, I failed. I got too quick, became too trigger happy, and didn't really take care of myself or even presented myself properly from a lot of the feedback that I've gotten from people. So for that, I take my L's, I'll move forward, and yeah, I'll take my L's and try to turn the losses into wins. So